Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning, everybody. Oh, you know what? My camera, this screen, is not tilted as far as it normally is. Let's move it over a little bit, shall we? Maybe we'll mess with that a little bit later. Well, anyways, first of all, I apologize. I didn't do the countdown like I normally do. We're going to try and experiment, see if the YouTube videos do a little bit better under those circumstances. All right, so anyways, let's go to the charts. Look at what happened. If we look in the 10-year here, we can see very clearly some pretty messy action on Friday. Woo, all over the place. Well, ultimately down. And overnight, not much moving over the weekend, but then overnight, a little bit of a move down. E-mini coinciding with this. E-mini really liked what happened on Friday, and they're really happy this morning. So we could see some more downside here in the treasuries. It's unclear. This might be one of those situations, though. I think we got to be careful. This could be a situation where the markets take a little bit of time to really figure out what's going on. Now, Jay Constant says, Bitcoin looking very bullish despite the hack. Well, I don't know if I could say that it looks bullish. It looks like something. But it has handled the hack really, really well, hasn't it? So I suppose that's good for it. I think that in Bitcoin, the end of the year stuff. Here's our Bitcoin chart, by the way. I think that in Bitcoin, the end of the year stuff is going to end up mattering more, anyways. So we'll see. I don't know if it matters too much. I mean, it doesn't look like the accounts being affected has affected like actual trades. So it may just not matter. Good morning, Gary. Let's start the robot up here, shall we? So she can read out stuff. Make sure it's all running here. Okay. All right. Good deal. Did you make money early this AM? No, I just barely started. So, on one, you can remember, by the way, should have said at the very beginning.
Jay Constant says everybody says Bitcoin going to 50K in 2020-21. That makes me doubt that very much.
Well, yeah, I am still of the opinion that it will be very difficult for Bitcoin to reach a new all-time high without a change in the protocol. The simple fact of it is that they just could not handle that price. There is not enough transaction throughput to support it. They may.
Uzi Knesset says morning.
They may pump it, they may manipulate it in all sorts of ways, but the protocol itself can't handle it. And the further they pump it, the uglier it's going to be when they eventually lose control.
Uzi Knesset says you're not showing up in my subfeed thinking face.
Not showing up in your subfeed on YouTube? Well, that's weird. Well, we should come in here.
Jay Constant says okay, we will see. Thanks, brew.
Yeah, no problem.
Uzi Knesset says yeah, I had to go directly to her channel.
That's weird. And I'm pretty sure you have the bell icon, don't you? But I did things a little bit different this time though, Uzi, so it could matter in that. Okay, so what should we call today's, well, so first of all, it's the 3rd, right? No, it's the 4th.
Uzi
It's the
Knesset
4th.
says I figured you missed the time change, haha.
No. I just, I just kind of
Gary Rich says if
on the fly
BTC does 50k,
deciding.
great. If not, I want to see John McAfee lose his bet, remember?
Oh, that's right. He was going to eat his balls or something, right? We're going to call this stream Daylight Savings Sucks. So, right?
Uzi Knesset says astonished face.
Yeah, it says Non-Farms Crazy Beat. That was Friday.
Michael X says non-farms crazy beat.
Yeah. But I think here, let me show you guys. I can show you guys the data. Here, I think. Sure. No, that's not it. Yeah. Well, let's look. Okay, so here's the Non-Farms Crazy Beat video. 517 impressions, 7.7% click-through rate. 74 views. How is the unique viewers higher than... That can't be right. Since published, 91. Since... Oh, it should be since uploaded. There we go. Okay. So 138 views. For a video on Friday, that's pretty good. So let's go back. Or actually, we'll pull up a different screen. And we'll see if I'll show you the changes that we made, seem to have had an impact. We would want like what, October 31st? Okay, sure. It looks like this one is doing better. Okay, reach. Okay, so 932 impressions, so about the same number of impressions, but this one had a significantly higher click-through rate because it was just a picture and no words on it, and significantly, well, we should do it since uploaded. There we go. Views 98, this one 138. So it seems that giving it a unique name and the different picture appears to have made a difference in that one particular instance. So the question that I want to see now here is if I come over and I do like the average view duration and the audience retention, if the audience retention increases, because you get this thing right here. I don't think that YouTube likes that. So I think that if we get rid of the countdown, that'll improve things a little bit. So anyways, that's what we're doing today. So if you have ideas though on a title, like something happens today, like a piece of news, and you have a good funny title, then we can suggest
Gary
the
Rich
title.
says for whatever reason the Europeans in session seems to sniff out these reports, economic data before us. Price verifies this.
Yeah, you're talking about on the Friday? Well, I don't know. The Friday action was really weird though, right? That one, I'm still not entirely convinced that they've how do you say that they've like resolved things. I think there may be a little bit more wrangling around this week. The administration clearly seems to believe, or at least wants the market to believe, that everything with Chinese trade talks is going well. There are some reports out that cause me to doubt that significantly. Then, on the other hand, there's the economic data. And the economic data, well, the economic data that we got on Friday was a lot better than we thought, but I'm not so sure that you can just sit and call it good. But anyways, here's my rule. First Monday after daylight savings, I do not trade live. These are like one of the worst screwy days that you get. We might get a really good move, but I don't want to participate in it. I've too many times now, I've been through like 5 of these now. This never ends well for me, so I'm going to sit and watch. That was a strong, well, I don't want to say strong, but it sure fell through there to a new low, didn't it? That resistance at 129.25.0 did not offer much support at all.
Gary Rich says the European session leads or slams the markets and we come in and bid it up or down or fade it. These reversals are clearly there.
Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. The thing is that a lot of the action in treasuries has been because of Europeans doing the whole spread trade stuff and taking it off. Well, recently taking it off. And so I think that that's why you see those European moves. But, you know, there's definitely something to the recommendation that Uzi has always given us, that you should look at that overnight opening range. We're coming back into a location that we've had significant action at before. Okay, so like the opening range high and opening range low, pretty significant opening range, and it's all the way up at the top. So that clearly would suggest to us to sell. Could we sell at 24.5? I don't know. A little bit of iceberging there. Would be better to see it come up and get some sort of a, you know, it just dies for no reason or something. But I'm just going to watch it, I think. I'm just going to watch it. Cool. Cool. Trying to think what else we got going on here. Oh, look at that. That was pretty aggressive there at 24.5. Big iceberg, and he just was like, no, we're pushing it over. Okay, so now the E-minis are going here. Neil Kashkari hilariously just said on CNBC that central banks aren't setting long rates when the Bank of Japan specifically pegs its 10-year to 0 and the ECB buys maturities up to 31 years.
Uzi Knesset says, yeah, I don't know the stats, but a lot of times when the high or low of the day is made within the first hour of the overnight session, it's indicative of a possible trend day.
Yeah. I mean, true trend day in
Gary
10
Rich
years
says
not very
if earnings
common,
come
right?
in line this week, you can see the 10 years touch 1.8% again and fall back under the range.
Could be. Another thing that I've got going here is, if we look at the news this week, I mean, we did this on Friday, but we can look again, right? Today we have factory orders. Tomorrow we get trade balance and non-ISM manufacturing PMI. Relatively important number. Wednesday we have 10-year bond auction. Thursday we got 30-year bond auction. So it's an auction week. And it is the beginning of the month, which would tend to indicate that we're going to move up, by the way. Although we're not, right? And then consumer sentiment. So some of the bigger pieces of news that we're going to look for, like, oh, I didn't know that the 11th is a bank holiday. Oh, is that? That's a Canadian Thanksgiving, isn't it? But see here, it's not until the 13th that we get like CPI, for instance, core retail sales and that stuff. So this week is actually a relatively light news week, being the first full week of the month.
Uzi Knesset says index futures just reaching for the stars, damn.
Right. I always get a little weary though when the E-mini is buying up really strong ahead of the open. Although it's doing
Gary
it
Rich
at
says
6:30.
news is good, but earnings drive the S&P or a mini, which move the bonds. It matters.
This one is it's moving here. It's not normal for the E-mini to move this strongly this early. Was there some earnings out that are like really, really good or something? Must be super amazing earnings. CNBC. Stocks making the biggest moves: free market, Ford, McDonald's, Under Armour, Verizon, and more. Goldman Sachs leads $50 million investment in millennial credit card startup Deserve. Okay, let's see what that's about. Since I have some Goldman Sachs, I want to know, what are they doing? A firm that offers credit cards directly to non-traditional consumers consuming
Uzi
machine
Knesset
learning.
says I got a bid in Verizon. I needed to come down a few bucks, lol.
Directly to non-traditional consumers using machine learning and alternative data to deem credit worthiness. Well, that's odd. It offers credit cards directly to non-traditional consumers with little credit history and other deficiencies using a cloud-based platform to determine their credit worthiness. It also sells that platform to corporations for them to offer their own branded cards. Well, that's an interesting idea, but it also kind of sounds a little devious. Like, what do they use as the data to determine if you can pay? That sounds suspiciously like social, your social score in China. You've been living your life right. Then we'll give you a credit card. Otherwise... And what do the robots end up picking up? Here's a headline in like 2 years from now. Algorithm that determines whether or not you can get a credit card is racist. That's what's going to happen, right? They're pushing it down, and we're getting a spike here. This spike might be a continuation.
Gary Rich says there's no morality in credit or ethics. LOL.
You say that now. You know what, Gary? You're just helping to further entrench the patriarchy. That's what you're doing. It sounds like a good idea, though. It sounds like an idea that will make them money. That's why I say that, like, if it makes them money, eventually somebody's going to be upset about it. That's kind of why I am. But I own them, so I hope they make money. I really hope, we'll have to look at after the market opens. But if Goldman Sachs could get above 220, like if they could open and close above 220 for a full session, that would be extremely bullish, because the banks have been one of the big drags on this economy. And if they think that things are getting better for the banks and they break that long-term resistance,
Gary Rich says to bad I wasn't white, then I'd have privilege. ROFL.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dojo says I'm reading a book called The Problem with Everything. I'm 2 chapters in and it's really good. Critical of the Culture Wars.
The Culture Wars. That's good. I mean, the thing that always bothers me about this is like, there's a difference between whether or not something is true and whether or not believing something is true is helpful to you. You know what I mean? It may or may not be true. I'm not going to take a position on it, but it may or may not be true that being a straight white male affords you certain advantages in society that you cannot otherwise have. That may be true. But it is not really helpful to you as an individual person to believe that is true. I mean, unless you want to be involved in trying to change that, then sure. But if you believe that, you're far less likely to go and do the things that you've got to do to go and be successful, So it's not... I think for those of us here, if you're here, I think that you're the type of person that wants to work hard and be successful. If you didn't, you wouldn't be doing futures, because futures is the hardest thing, the hardest work. It can have the greatest reward in the long run. It's unlikely that you can get that greatest reward, but it can have a small, consistent reward, and it certainly changes you. So overall, it can be very rewarding, but it's a lot. It's a very, very difficult work. It's much harder than other things that you can do. And why would you do that if you were lazy and you didn't want to be successful? No, that wouldn't be you. And so I think for us, it's better to ignore those things in terms of how we use our lives and go forward with the idea that anybody in this society can be successful if they put forth the necessary effort, which is absolutely true. That doesn't mean that you will be successful, and I think that's the problem some people have, is they want a guarantee. That's the problem that I see in society today, is they don't want to do something unless they know for sure that it's going to happen. They don't want to take a risk. They don't want to work really hard and then have it not work out, which you got to. That's just life, guys. But that's kind of the thing that I see. So I think you just go forward with that mentality. Hey, I can be successful if I work hard, and just go out and make it happen. So that's my little rant for this morning. I don't know. It's just, it bothers me, especially in school, when you see teachers that are trying to teach this thing to the students, and I don't think that it's like a malicious thing on the part of the teachers or anything. Like they want to see a change in the world, and they think that teaching the students that will make that change. But the way that they present it I think is really negative for people. I think that you've got to just go forward with the mind that anybody can be successful, and that should be your primary thought. They're just pushing down here, aren't they? Well, if this really
Dojo says one thing's for sure. If I just spend all my time sitting around whinging, I'll have no time for anything else.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be interesting here. So my lovely wife, she works hard. She is like way overly motivated most of the time.
Kevin says lol got ignored by Robo.
Oh, you got ignored by the robot? I don't actually see your message, Kevin. Let's see if the other thing picked it up. It must have been that you said something and it showed up. Well, let's see here.
Wimmer Kevin says, ha, okay, gonna copy paste it.
Maybe it rejected your message. Maybe there was like a URL in it or something and it didn't get sent. Oh yeah, she can be really overly motivated, but she's also got thyroid problems and she's pregnant, so she's got to rest a lot.
Kevin says, yeah, there was a URL.
Okay, yeah, you got to put like spaces around the periods. And oh, hold on. Do you know a good way?
Wimmer Kevin says, hey Seth, do you know a good way to see what news happened while backtesting? Wanted to backtest trend days in gold, and it's tedious to check investing for news, especially a few months ago.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's super difficult. Oh man. I would have to find it. So I totally forgot about this whole thing. So one of the things, there's a guy in chat. He's not online right now, but John. What's it? I think he's using a slightly different name right now. What is this? He's been taking. Oh, he deletes his messages later. He's been taking some trades in the knob spread and stuff like that, and he shows up in futures trading. Anyways, he developed this really crazy platform that allows him to go through and say, okay, take all of the days that have this piece of news and we outperformed the piece of news and all of this sort of stuff and what tends to happen on those days. And he told me that the data source that he used to get the data, but I forget what it is. But the gist of it is that it's really hard, and you would have to program up your own custom solution that uses that data and then compares it up against the, what's going on. But, the thing is that you're going to find is that when gold moves, there tends to be news, just like everything else. If there's no news, the asset is significantly less likely to move because nobody's going to be making any. Why would they have any reason to trade or make a move unless something has changed? So now there are lots of, at that point, there are lots of studies out there where you can look at various specific pieces of news, right? Like in treasuries, there's a study out there that shows that when there's an auction, that we tend to be up on the day, for instance, right? That sort of a thing. Okay, so they had the spike, and we pulled back a little bit, but there is not a lot of action since. I think that here a sim
Live action
order.
says morning all. I see Europe got the good apples last night, leaving the ones with the worms.
Wasn't that strong of a move down, guys? Come on. Not filled, huh?
Wimmer Kevin says I tend to disagree. You sometimes have big trend days without any real news. For instance, last Monday in gold, big short day. Algo Lover says GM thumbs up.
So, for instance, last Monday, let's see, so that was the 28th, right? I don't even think my gold chart goes back that far. 28th. Oh, yes, it started out as a big down. The treasuries didn't do that. Well, so, yeah. Hold on.
Wimmer Kevin says the Friday before that we made a huge rejection move and Monday was continuation.
Well, sure. I mean, listen, you're always going to find exceptions, right? So, like, a really good example of this one is no news Tuesdays. If it's a Tuesday and there's no news, then you will get one of two things. Either the treasuries will not barely move hardly at all, and it'll be the worst random action you've ever seen in your life, or B, you will have a crazy trend day.
Algo Lover says for what it's worth at Wimmer Kevin down finger.
Oh, he's talking about gold.
Algo Lover says Sunday 10.27406 p.m. GC buyers will need to regain a bid above 1528 before changing the short-term trend, range bound to lower until thumbs up still valid.
That's pretty high up there.
Algo Lover says gold did trade off early and rallied late in the week but maintained the range as mentioned thumbs up.
Sure. And gold can
Gary
be
Rich
really
says all
volatile
depends
anyways.
on what one considers, defines, or interprets what a trend is. Uzi Knesset says Yo Clinton's going to run for president again lol.
No, she's not. No, she's not. Where do you see that? Did she actually announce that, or is this just more of the rumor mill of them saying that she wants to run? I'm not going to make a wager. I mean, you wouldn't say it. I know you. You wouldn't say that if you didn't have a reason. So do you have a link? That would be so funny if she ran again, man. That would be so funny. Oh man, if Hillary Clinton ran again, the Democrat Party would have a conniption fit. You imagine all of these guys out there, like the Bernie Sanders fans, that think that it's his time now, and all of the Elizabeth Warren fans that have invested into Elizabeth Warren essentially at this point.
Michael X says she was so unclassy when she lost.
She
just ran backstage and cried.
Yeah.
Uzi Knesset says she hasn't announced yet, but it's coming. It's the left's damage control plan for when the impeachment shit falls apart. Wimmer Kevin says yeah, I wanted to make a statistic regarding trend days, differencing if it's in the Asia, EU or a session, if it was a news day or not, if it was due news, which news and what numbers and so on.
Yeah.
Michael X says who would have thought a robot had emotion? Wimmer Kevin says but yeah, always having to check investing really is annoying and makes me not want do it lol.
Predicted
Dojo
has
says
her up 1
predicted
cent.
has her up 1 cent at 10 cents.
Well, she has risen up on Predicted, which I think is hilarious. Man, so we got a couple of things going on here, so let's focus on them one at a time. So let's start with the most important one, right? Which is the whole trend thing. So there's that one thing is that yeah, you can see strong trends on days that there isn't any news. And I believe that happens sometimes, especially like the no news Tuesday thing, because they're preparing for Wednesday.
Lover says ZN below 129, 310 targets 129, 190 to deep in hole for decent RR entry, but okay hand.
But there's always going to be exceptions. But I'm sure that if you go and you do the statistics, you're going to find that if there's no news that day, that there tends to be less action than days that there are news. I mean, that's just going to be the overall statistic. Not that I've gone through and done it for your specific instrument, but based on what we understand about the markets, that's what I would expect to see. But gold, another thing is that gold is a much more speculative instrument anyways, right? Because the actual demand in gold, in terms of people that actually have to have it to do their businesses because of industrial uses or what have you, there's not that many people. Most of the
Algo
people
Lover
that need
says
it.
HAGD. Okay hand. Ace Trade says short 3082.25.
Well, I don't like the way that the Treasury trade turned on me there, but I'm just gonna kind of let it see what it does. Anyways, gold. Most of the movement in gold is going to be speculative, and so you can tend to see stronger moves out of nowhere because of that. Yeah.
Algo Lover says 8:36 a.m. Algo Lover S buyers need to hold any pullback above 3079 for continuation at these levels. If so, 3085.50 target. If 79 breaks before trading higher, then anticipate a deeper pullback nerd face.
Okay. So that was that. The second thing was we were talking about was Hillary Clinton. So she is like way overpriced on the predictive market, which I think is really quite funny. I mean, I'm wondering why Uzi is suddenly so sure that she's going to run. I think that if she tried to run, if she actually started to make a move that showed that she was serious about running again, I think that party insiders would stop her.
Uzi Knesset says because I'm a cynic.
Because I'm a cynic. No, the thing is, like, if you're a significant donor party insider, like say you're Nancy Pelosi, and you hear Hillary Clinton is going to run for president, right? That is like a bad idea, right? You're going to intervene. You're going to take Hillary aside and you're going to say, look, Hillary, this is a bad idea. Don't do it. So, that's kind of how that sort of thing tends to go. It's going to be funny if this like flips super hard. They may, well, they're not showing signs of
Gary
squeezing
Rich
yet,
says if Hillary runs, maybe she can get 3 million additional popular votes with the transgenders ROFL.
Oh gosh, whatever.
Uzi Knesset says when the impeachment thing falls apart, they're gonna need a huge surprise factor. I think Clinton is it. Think WWF type bullshit, lol.
Nah.
Uzi Knesset says ha ha ha.
Well, now the thing that is interesting about all of this is the timeline, right? Because the timeline that I'm hearing is that they're going to be doing the hearings and stuff in the House all the way till the end of the year, and that it won't be for the Senate to be deciding until early next year, which means that this is going to be the dominating factor all the way up until the primary contest starting for the Democrats, which is a really negative thing. But once that whole narrative, if that whole narrative falls apart, let's say, I mean, the chances are he's not going to be impeached, right? So,
Uzi Knesset says yeah, once it gets to the Senate, Republicans are gonna tear holes in it like Swiss cheese.
based on what we know about the case right now, it's not going to fare very well in the Senate. I think the most damaging piece of information that we know is that we know that the whistleblower has significant biases in terms of he's a Democrat, he's worked for one of the Democrat candidates, all these other things. There's some claims that they know who he is, and if the person that they're claiming it is, if it's really him, then yeah, that really damages the whole thing, because that basically says that it was all just a setup sort of a thing.
Uzi Knesset says hell, the identity of the whistleblower is all but confirmed at this point. Eric Chiramella.
Oh, and I wonder if she's saying that correctly. Yeah. I mean, it's all over the place, so I don't necessarily think that
Uzi Knesset says juicy 33-year-old soy boy.
But I'm not going to focus on that it was him or anything, because there's some people out there that are going, oh, it's this guy, we should get all mad at him, and I don't want to do that. But if it really is him, then that's super damaging to the case.
Gary Rich says the current class of Dems are nuts. It's a war on wealth and capital, no other debate. The Dems are extreme to the crazy spectrums.
Yeah, so anyways, it probably goes nowhere in the Senate. So if we assume that that's true, then you get to the end of it, then what happens? I think that the Democrats at that point would be very nervous about saying, okay, well, we lost the impeachment battle, and the way that we're going to go forward trying to battle the president is with far left socialism. And I don't think so. I still believe that at some point, Democrats are going to get over it, and they're going to elect, they're going to pick Buttigieg. Really,
Uzi Knesset says at Gary Rich, yeah man, think about it. Warren just admitted her Medicare for All plan would kill 2 million jobs. Sanders admitting to increase taxes on the middle class. Like who'd vote for that?
Like who'd vote
Lol.
For that? The way that she said that, wow. So if you say like who'd vote for that, made it. Now, is it because you used the question mark exclamation point, or is it because you started with like who'd vote for that? Stock market hits record high. Spend your money well, says Donald Trump.
Easy, yes.
I don't know. It's your robot.
Uzi Knesset says, I don't know. It's your robot. Lol.
Well, we gotta go in here. So we can do it like this. We can say, like, who'd vote for that? Question, or like, who'd vote for that? Wait for her to read it.
Speculator Seth says, like who'd vote for that? Like who'd vote for that?
So it was the whole thing. It was because of the ... and it was a part of a larger sentence and everything. But it's curious that it understands that inflection, the way that it reads it, the way that you wrote it in there, and the way that it read it was like perfect, even though the way that you wrote it isn't really even like grammatically correct. That's cool. Google's got something super cool going on there. Well, it's deep learning, so I wonder if it has things where it's like they have a bunch of, somebody talking, a particular individual talking, and then a transcript of what she was writing, and that's how it figures it out. I mean, it must be something like that. That is some pretty strong stacks now that they've clicked down.
Uzi Knesset says California is the absolute state of what a Democrat supermajority can yield. Me no want, lol.
Oh man. Well, this whole thing in California confuses me, to be honest. It's like, okay, so they're saying that when there's high winds and they have to turn the electricity off because they're afraid that their power lines will start a fire. And I'm like, you're the only state in a dry area that has high winds and power lines? No, I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. The whole thing doesn't make it. The whole situation in California makes no sense to me at all that they're doing that. And it's like, why now all of a sudden? And some people are telling me that this is all just a ruse to take over the power company.
Says tax fuel to high hell to push people towards electric cars only to turn off the damn power?
Right.
Grinning, squinting face.
So I don't know what to believe at this point. I mean, it's not something that I have a strong understanding of. Man, so this just these last 2 ticks down is showing a pretty significant drop in cumulative delta, and they are just stacking on it so hard. I don't know about the particular area, 24. Maybe if I had taken it at 24.5, it would be worth a live trade, but I know that my judgment tends to be impaired on around daylight savings time. So I think that I should still just kind of keep off. And the other thing is this move in the E-mini is just way too big.
Gary Rich says I live in Caliph. I'm a lonely man on an island surrounded by an ocean of crap. Ace Trade says 1 oint so far.
Okay, so Ace has made 1 point on his short. That's good to know.
Ace Trade says can't wait to hear how she says oint.
Oint. See, it kind of ticked up. It doesn't seem like that the particular price that I have is great. I don't know. I'm just seeing a lot of like strong signals, I guess, in this area, and I don't think that it really makes sense to me. It would make more sense to me for this to just go sideways. So downtick in 900 stack on it. That's not that great. So yeah, so going back to the comment about Elizabeth Warren admitted her Medicare plan would kill 2 million jobs. The whole Medicare for all thing, when you look at it, it's really quite crazy. Because first of all, you would kill an industry, okay? You have any idea how many people work in healthcare would be affected by that? And that's a disruption that would take years to overcome. Man, I don't know how they did it in Europe. How did they do that in Europe? How did they overcome all that? Because killing the insurance industry in the United States would be really ugly. Okay? Like, I work for a company that basically is a health insurance marketplace, primarily for Medicare recipients. But if we moved over to I guess if everybody moved over to Medicare for all, maybe that would be beneficial to my company, actually, because you can still get Medicare plans, right? But it depends on if they change it or not, right? If it was just like government healthcare, I'm pretty sure they didn't kill the insurance. I believe they run both.
Says I'm pretty sure Europe didn't kill the insurance industry. I believe they run both. NHS and a supplemental private insurance industry.
Sure. Okay. But it still hurts the insurance companies because they're going to get less business overall, right? Anyways, so there's that part. But then, did you guys see this tweet by Eric Trump yesterday where he was saying, look, this thing over the next 10 years is predicted to be like $6 trillion, I think it was? Look, it says there you are. Hey. No, did you not? You couldn't find me because there you are. I didn't do the countdown. This is interesting. I think I'm going to continue to skip the countdown for the rest of the week, and we'll see how it goes. So I don't want it to be just like one day. It might have just been a fluke, but make sure that you guys have the bell icon clicked, all right? So make it a lot easier to find us. Anyways, insurance. But they're saying that it was like $6 trillion over 10 years. And he was like, if you confiscated all of the wealth that the top 1% has, it wouldn't even pay for like 1% of that. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, where's that money going to come from? They're going to raise everybody's taxes. And they say it's going to hurt the middle class. And it's going to hurt everybody. Everybody is going to have to pay more money. Almost certainly. Now, the contention is that the amount that you will pay in taxes will be less than what you pay on premiums today. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I mean, the costs have been spiraling out of control already. How is putting the government
Lucas
in charge
says
of it going to
EU
make
has
that
high
go
taxes
down?
already. Uzi Knesset says even if you tried to only hit the wealthy, the cost would objectively roll downhill.
Yeah. I don't buy it. I don't believe it for a second. I mean, it could be the case that there are efficiency benefits to having everybody in the country on the same healthcare plan, essentially. But that doesn't mean that they're going to control costs, right? The costs, the problem with costs are things that are beyond just the insurance industry, you know? And Congress isn't doing anything to address those costs. This was Emmanuel, Obama's campaign manager. He was saying, this is a pipe dream and you guys should focus on cutting the costs. He's
Uzi
100%
Knesset
right.
says besides raising the taxes on the wealthy, does literally nothing to address the tax code that allows them to shelter themselves from taxes.
Yeah. Well, they would absolutely move the money. So interesting to me that when you look through history, apparently the statistic is that the taxes as a percent of GDP stays consistent. Which, how does it stay consistent even when they've reduced taxes, like under Bush, for instance, and the percentage tax is still the same? Isn't that interesting? But then there's something has changed because the government spending has definitely gone up, and now we're just doing it with borrowing.
Uzi Knesset says it's like the "we're gonna take your guns" crap. The government has no centralized registry for firearm ownership. They can't take guns from everyone because they have no idea who owns them. Winstanzamam says good morning gentlemen of futures. Seth, the YouTube notification bell on my Chrome still has not rung and you began streaming 45 minutes ago. Please hit like and
That's
listening
super
only today.
weird, right?
Love the title.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So today I didn't do the countdown. Normally I will start it at 6 o'clock my time and let it, just do a countdown for 20 minutes and then start the stream. And I decided to change that on the theory that YouTube itself doesn't like the people skipping that first part of the video. And so I think that it recommends the daily streams less to people because of that. So I want to test it out. Making a bold call.
Gary Rich says I'm making a bold call. We drive towards 3071 if 3081 takes out.
71, huh? Well, that's not particularly helpful if we're short the treasuries, is it? It seems to me, though, that the reasons that I took my short there are still
Uzi
mostly
Knesset
intact.
says that's the S value area low.
Okay. Well, you might be right. I really do feel like that the opening this drive in the E-mini is a little bit unusual and a bit much. So yeah, so anyways, I don't think that the whole it not showing you the video thing though is quite I don't know if that is necessarily related to me not starting the stream and doing the countdown bit, right? Because the only thing that changes is when the video started. Also, we have more people watching today than we normally do at this time. Normally we peak at around 20, 24 people, but not
Live
until
Action
after
says
7:30.
Gov can't control border and think they will control guns is ludicrous.
Right. Well, they do want to make a list. Well, listen, I wouldn't discount their ability to try. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been done other places. Of course, other places don't have nearly as many guns,
Uzi
but
Knesset
I mean, it
says
has
Apple
been done.
threatened to throw $2.5 billion at California homeless crisis.
Really? Yeah. And why does California have such a strong homeless crisis? You know, that is a really curious thing, right?
Uzi Knesset says it'll be fun to watch that fail.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I feel for people that are homeless, but the question is, if California is one of the largest economies in the United States.
Uzi Knesset says, but hey, big write-off windfall for Apple, eh?
Also, they have a large section of industry in the part of the economy that's doing the best in technology, right? Services and technology. So why do they have the highest number of homeless people? Doesn't really make sense, does it? Other than that, like all of the homeless people are moving to California because of the benefits. Other than that, it doesn't really make sense to me that they would have a higher percentage of homeless people. Oh, well, actually, let's think about it. I guess probably a really big factor behind it is that the cost of housing in California is just ridiculous, huh? So that's one thing. I really think that in California, they need to pass a law that, what's the word?
Uzi Knesset says yeah it is. It's insane. Dojo says I heard California made thefts less than $900 a non-arrest offense.
That's true.
Ace Trades says 2 points.
Good job, Ace. That was actually like a voter initiative that it's only a misdemeanor if it's less than $900, which means that there's basically like no real punishment, and so there's a lot of theft going on because of it. Like it's
Lucas
increased significantly since they posted that. Unintended consequences. What you gonna do? I keep turning
Gary
over
Rich
to.
says Silicon Valley has driven up real estate. Uzi Knesset says at Dojo they did, lol. It's resulted in an explosion of retail theft and a black market for selling stolen merchandise. Oh. Absolutely glorious.
I keep wanting to go over and read your messages, even though I know it's going to be read out to me. So why don't I just keep my eyes over here? That's what I should focus on today. Yeah, but it's their housing zoning laws. California should pass something to get the zoning laws. There will be
other setups, bro.
Yeah, they should pass a law in California, a statewide law that guts the zoning laws and allows developers to develop almost basically anywhere that they want. They will never do it because that would be helping the rich. Oh, you're going to allow the rich to build a nice, big, gigantic apartment complex in my neighborhood? That can't be allowed. That would be taking value away from me and my home, except for that your house is overvalued, guys. Ugh, it's never going to happen, but that's a big problem in California. It's a big problem all over the country, in fact, in urban areas. And this was a problem in Japan, and what Japan did was they just said, okay, no more zoning laws. You can build whatever you want anywhere you want, and
Ace
people started building housing.
In fact, just got a long signal at 3080.25.
A long? Yeah.
Lucas says at Ace Trades treasuries are boring today, a bit choppy as well. I'm calling it in like 30 minutes or so as rule if I can't make money within the first 2 hours. Gary Rich says California just passed rent control, even certain cities it's worst.
Well, I would personally wouldn't recommend like quitting. I would just, if you feel, that you want to take a trade, just take it on sim. Because it's still screen time and there's still things that you can learn from the really slow action. And it could still move,
Live Action says, how do these knuckleheads get voted in?
I don't know what's going on in California. I think that you run into fundamental issues with governance when one party is in charge,
Ace Trades says at Lucas, just wait till after the open, we will find another move for ya. Uzi Knesset says say feel good shit, destroy society.
No. I mean, look, in Utah, the Republican Party has a pretty good stranglehold on the state. Now, Salt Lake has always been Democrat, and you kind of got this other thing where Utah is like a real rhino state, and so there's a significant portion of the Utah legislature that claims to be Republicans but really aren't.
Lucas says at Ace Trades, what do you mean after the open? Ace Trades says at Winstanza Mom and good morning, my Rose.
But all in all, it's pretty Republican, and because of that, they have passed some really dumb laws in the state of Utah. Okay, bad things happen when one party has control, and in California, it's not just that like Democrats are the majority and they have control. It's like they've tilted the voting
Lucas
system over there so far in their favor.
Daytime saving or something like that?
Yes. Daytime savings time is awful, guys.
Ace Trades says at Lucas the cash market for Amini opens in 15 minutes. Add another 15 minutes to let it settle down.
I mean, technically in October, you gain
Block
an hour.
sell.
Holy shit. I missed it. Holy shit. Okay.
Live Action says court has a law against having a slingshot.
Aren't you glad that you're still here now, Lucas? What was that? Holy cow. Well, that could be something that continues.
The toilet just unclogged, lol.
Yeah.
Lucas says I forgot MKS started later from now on.
Yes. There's a possibility that continues, but I say when you get something like that and you see some absorption, it's probably better to take it off. Like you caught a good run, that's good. There's always a possibility of a reversal there, and you don't want to lose a ton of it. I don't know what just happened. I'm not seeing anything on Twitter. Iranian official says Tehran is now operating 60 IR-6 centrifuges, twice as many as before.
Gary
in violation
Rich says,
of the
here we go, 3083 half gonna get taken out.
Now, the odd thing is that huge move down in treasuries, E-mini's not moving. So it may just be that somebody decided to puke in the 10-year. That was an awesome... that was a pretty wild move, wasn't it? What happened? I took it off.
Lucas says, what happened with your short?
Where'd it go? I made 6 sticks on it. Took it off.
Winstanza Mom says a single flower he sent me, since we met, all tenderly his messenger he chose, deep-hearted, pure, with scented dew still wet, one perfect rose. Dorothy Parker, good morning, Ace Trades.
She read that pretty good. No, listen, when you get a stop run, you got to think about taking it off.
Lucas says lol nice.
That's like you caught it. You were early. Your job is to, now be out. Okay, U.S. White House. Until the Iranian regime changes its behavior, we will continue to impose sanctions. That can't be it. That's news that would push us up. That's really weird. That's really weird. Well, so I got out at 24. So 2, 4, 6. I got out at 21. It looks like I could have held on a little bit longer for one more tick because there's 8K going through at 20 half. But I mean, really, 12,000 contracts going through at 20 half. That's indicative of some distribution. People are taking profits at 20 half. If you're looking to catch the swing like we are, you've got to think about taking it off. So that's why I took it off. Now, of course, when I did that, I was worried that there would be like a full tick, forward tick pullback really quickly. It hasn't done that yet, so we'll see. Well, there was a little bit of clickiness on that uptick. I wonder, though, like the way that one happened, especially the location, because there was a little bit of long behavior up in here at 24, wasn't there? 1 trillion for Aramco? I did not see that.
Gary Rich says, did you see what valuation they put on Aramco? Holy crap, 1 trillion.
That's how it's so big. I think this whole Aramco thing is going to be really interesting to watch.
IQ says big NRS at 17/18 ZB.
Is there anything even comparable to Aramco? Not only in terms of size, but in terms of the importance to a major country and all of this sort of stuff. There's nothing like it. And I'm really interested to see how it ends up trading. Well, the 30-year is still pushing down here, folks. I'm getting some spikiness. Nancy Pelosi, as a left-wing San Francisco liberal, I can say to these people, what are you thinking? I'm gonna hand it to Nancy. I mean, she is a wingnut, and I don't think that she does a great job as speaker, no. but she does know certain things. She is still politically savvy, and she knows a couple of ideas that are just really dumb, and she's not afraid to say it. Like the whole impeachment thing probably was a bad idea. Probably if they had, that's the funny thing, is if the Democrats had waited one day, they just waited one day and not announced that they were doing like an inquiry, you know, then they wouldn't be in this predicament. That's the funny thing. They could still be doing their investigations and making it look bad for the president, but not have this huge expectation hanging over their head that they're going to impeach somebody, you know? Uptick again. I'm starting to think that I should move my webcam. I like the side look here, but I think that it's a little bit too far to the side for starters. And I'm never centered.
Pelosi. Gary Rich says Pelosi moral compass is spinning backwards at a rate of speed. It could split atoms. Uzi Knesset says lol.
Well, so here's a thought for you. What if Harry Reid was still in there? What if Harry Reid was still in the Senate? Can you imagine if Harry? Because listen, Harry Reid is a very different guy from Chuck Schumer. Harry Reid, he played the game. It would be really interesting to see how things would be going if Harry Reid was in the Senate. I think that Democrats would probably be in a better spot if Harry Reid was still in the Senate. Look at that uptick. 21.5. Do people trade 22? Anybody? 22? 22. Nope. And only 918 contracts went through at 23, by the way. So that might be a spot that we might retrace back to. No, by the way, I need to minimize that. Oh, digital shot caught 20.5. That's my boy. He's always been good at catching that extreme. I know that it doesn't always work out for him, but he usually has like that price that's like, how did you get that? Well, 16,000 went through at 20.5, so it's not like he couldn't have gotten it, but ooh, I wouldn't have bought. That would have been a scary buy.
Gary Rich says here we go, 3,082 coming in.
Yeah, I think so. In fact, if Ace gave along here, it would. I'm thinking maybe I would want to. Well, I don't know. I still think that I'm in the it's daylight savings time, and I hate daylight savings. So I'm reading this Zero Hedge article. This is not a place for detailed discussion of inflation indexes, but suffice it to say that there are two basic methods, a cost of things and a cost of living framework, with the variations around each of them. The relationship between the two methods is not constant, since cost of living is more of an academic concept and not based fully on market prices. The politics of inflation, just before the open where you'll grind it out. Okay.
Gary Rich says just before the open it where you grind it out.
Politics of inflation often involve discussions over which approach to employ for the indexation of social programs, and the politicians often favored whatever approach yielded low inflation. For example, in the early 1980s, consumer inflation based on the cost of things framework was driving up the federal government costs of indexation for social programs, and the controversy over measurement provided Congress a convenient format to use its statistical policy-making role to force a change, while also trying to reduce the budget deficit. The controversy ended with Congress endorsing its first shift towards a cost of living framework, as it recommended removing actual house prices and replace them with a subjective measure of owners' rents. Oh, okay. The politics of inflation erupted again in the mid-1990s when the Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan told Congress the current measure of inflation was overstating actual inflation by a full percentage point, costing the federal government billions in its indexation of government social programs. Congress demanded immediate action, with one piece of legislation going so far as holding back on appropriations for the government statistics agencies until it lowered the inflation index. Wow, really? They can do that? Oh, the number's too high. We're pulling your funding until the numbers show what we want. That's scary. In the end, Congress established a panel of outside experts to study the controversy. The group of experts recommended the inflation index should be designed more like a cost of living index and made a number of recommendations, all of which result in lowering inflation, and overlooked any changes that would lift the index. Soon after, with Congress' insistence, government statisticians started to implement various statistical changes in measurement, moving the inflation index one large step closer to the concept of cost of living. The politics of inflation demonstrated how politicians have used their political clout to lower reported inflation. While there were legitimate issues of concept and design involved in both debates, political opinion was mainly shaped by the dollars to be saved at the federal government level if the inflation index were to increase more slowly. The controversy... Hold on. For bracket order.
Gary Rich says have a bracket order 3084.5 long, 3081.5 short.
Well, the treasuries have kind of found a little bit of balance here.
Ace Trade says at Lucas, since you asked, I set up a 2-point target and a 1-point stop. It hit the 2 points and I got out.
Okay. Today's inflation index is not a true cost of living index, as it's missing important items such as financial assets. So in practice, the inflation index is a mishash or a hybrid, as it includes actual prices with imputed prices. A hybrid index is not appropriate for monetary policy, as the focus needs to be on actual cost of things, and targeting a hybrid index becomes a problem when there is a great variance between actual prices and imputed prices, as evident in the 2000s.
Lucas says I see 2-1 is a good risk-reward setup.
As evident in the 2000s when house prices skyrocketed and imputed rents hardly moved. That trend is also present today, but on a smaller scale, suggesting the cost of things has been moving up at a faster rate compared to the cost of living. Policymakers should borrow a page from the politician's playbook and conduct a study of price measurement to ensure today's price measures meet the purposes of economy-wide inflation.
Ace Trade says at Lucas, you bet your ass it is. You can feed a family with 2 points a day.
It would also be wise to examine why asset price cycles have been much greater since the shift towards cost of living index and numerical price targeting. Politics of inflation should never favor one type over another. As history has clearly shown, easy money or creating or promoting inflation in only two areas, real and financial assets, can be just as bad economically and financially as if it shows up in all of the items. Okay, but he's got a problem here in this theory, and that is that the Federal Reserve has the freedom and ability to interpret the inflation numbers in any way in which they need to, and they completely understand those differences and factor them into the way that they calculate the interest rates. And the fact of the matter is that there really just isn't inflation, and it's not just a cost of living thing. There are just things going on around the world that is causing low inflation. Digital Sat says thanks, but it's not always like that, and we still don't know if it works out.
Ace Trade says at Lucas, if I didn't have to leave during that trade, I would have left a few contracts on and still be in short. Lucas says at Ace Trades, I know. I really want to be a 2 points a day trader. Don't need more than that. If you want more, you just scale.
Exactly. Well, it all depends. You want to, do the math and everything based on your win rate. I mean, that's the key thing that's going to matter. If your win rate's not as high, then you're going to probably need to catch some runners from time to time. And one of the things with Aces that's so great about Ace's strategy is that he does catch some amazing runners. Okay, so the E-mini open was not like crazy right out of the gate. They're fighting back and forth a little bit, although it seems that the overall pressure on the open is slightly long. Slightly long. Treasury's slide to lows after 1.6 million deviation 01 10-year block trade. Oh. So he really did take all of those prices all at once. And it was the exchange would have shown it because it was a block trade. Wow. It's been a long time since we've talked about or even looked at the block trades like that. That's interesting. But an order like that that's that big, on one hand, it's very, very negative for price, but on the other hand, it's so big, there's probably going to be quite a bit of balancing out here. Okay, so I'm thinking there's something wrong with my robot.
Michael here. X says, where are you reading this?
It was Zero Hedge. I posted the link in the Discord, in the interest rates channel. But Zero Hedge says Treasury slide to lows after 1.6 million DV01 10-year block trade. Basically meaning that the size of that block size was a standard deviation above what block trades normally are.
Ace Trade says at Gary Rich, nice short at your entry at 3081.50. Did you get filled?
They were starting to look pretty bullish here at 22, but then it immediately fell back. How does my bot determine? No, it would be in the app.js. Okay. YT listen 7 seconds. And
Live action says soybeans flirting with Friday high.
I'm wondering why sometimes. Maybe it's just because of the place that I'm looking at it from. And maybe I'm not sorting them right too, but seems to
Ace Trade says at Lucas the other thing is, once you pick up your 2 points, you can get in another trade, and now you are using house money, you can have a little wider stop.
I think what I should do is I should set this little part here where it gets the interval, and I should not use their framework, and I should use my own framework. And then I can come over here and I can just, the same thing that I do to push reading messages into the console, I should use to check here. So if it's been 7 seconds, it'll read something and it's been 7 seconds, then it should go and read it.
Lucas says at Ace Trades free rolling.
And then it would be a little bit more efficient because it wouldn't try and go and grab new messages when it's reading something out. Although it may be the case that it doesn't do that anyways.
Ace Trade says at Lucas that's it. Gary Rich says currently long 3084.5.
See, like on that one, it is doing it every 7 seconds, but it prints them out.
Ace Trade says at Gary Rich, oh dear, sorry, lol.
Prints them out because it's waiting on the synthesized message. It waits because I don't think that it's getting.
Gary Rich says if my 3081.5 gets filled it kills the long.
I don't think that it gets the message and plays it asynchronously, I think is the problem. You probably don't care about that. That's probably like way above. That's super JavaScript specific, but I was thinking about it. I think I figured it out. Well, this is interesting. So, first of all, we have a lot of people watching today. So, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. I would highly recommend that you hit the bell icon for this channel because we stream every morning. And we have a great set of traders here.
I discovered yesterday Ray Dalio started Bridgewater ASO trading grains.
And if you want to join us every day, then you click that bell icon. It makes it a lot easier for you to find the channel. I will demonstrate. Come over here. I will demonstrate. Oh, we have to go to. So this is my other user. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so here it is. It's subscribed, and then you hit the bell icon, and you say all. Or you can personalize it. Well, I forget what the personalized one is. I think that is done from within your settings here.
Ace Trade says, hey kids, where else are you going to get live calls on the Amini? Hit that like and subscribe.
Yeah. And then, there's settings and stuff. Anyways, so if you hit the bell icon, it helps. It helps you find the channel because otherwise you have to like type in, leave a bookmark on the page or whatever to find it because without the bell icon, it doesn't necessarily show you that we're live. Like for instance, I don't think that on this user I have. Oh, it does. There it is. Cool. I think though, I'm wondering though if the different picture is helping. We tried that first picture. Remember when we made that first picture when we made it as clickbaity as possible? And this one is like the exact opposite. It's like, it's just a picture. There's no text on it. You can clearly see that we're trading. I like it. And it seems to be helping. So cool stuff, huh? It's funny to me. They are down towards the bottom of the range, and Ace hasn't said anything that would have reversed his call. So technically, if he had not had to leave and all that, he would still be short, right? And it's going okay right now. I don't know, though. This is one of those things that I've seen is like when the equity indexes get really bullish, you'll tend to get this thing where there will be people that are just crazy skeptical. And all of the skepticism just fuels the rise
Ace
higher.
Trade says, but I would have been stopped out on the opening.
Oh, you would have? Yeah, okay. If it was giving you a short signal now, would you take it, or are you concerned enough about the action? Sorry, what is it? What is the word that we use? The pressure, I guess, it's still up. Treasury's come up there. They still have not traded.
Ace Trade says too close to open.
Yeah, okay. They still have not traded 23. I think there's a really good chance that 23 is going to trade through in ES.
Gary Rich says I have to let this trade play out for 30 minutes before jumping ship. Ace Trade says, but you know me, I like a tight 3-tick stop. Which is probably too close for most folks.
I don't know how you do it. Do you know, we've asked this before, but you're not 100% sure on your win rate, right? I'll just see our charts give us that kind of data. There is a stats window somewhere.
Jonathan Hunt says, lol, nice title.
Thank
Live
you.
Action says, Seth, unsubscribe. Can you opt out of all the emails?
So I think that if you come over here to your settings in YouTube and you go to notifications, I think you can you see here, you just don't send me emails about my YouTube activity and updates I requested. Right?
Ace Trade says, no idea on my win rate. I am sure I could look it up. I just care on Friday what my bank statement says.
I would really like to know what it is. It seems to me like it's over 50%, but I was just, I don't know why I was thinking about it this weekend, but I was like, well, it's pretty good, but it's not right every time. It probably is actually somewhere around 50%. Anyways, so this will be like mobile and desktop notifications. The other thing that you can do, I think, although I would have to probably come in here into settings to do it, is like...
Ace Trade says, sure, let's say that. Jonathan Hunt says, 10 years auction Wednesday.
Yes. This week could be a tough week. I don't... Okay, where is the... is it under... Maybe it's under advanced. Chrome, do not track.
Zaldia says, hola, Seth. Gary Rich says, see back to even.
Going? How's it going?
Zaldia says, been along.
It's been... Well, you were here last week, right? It was a long weekend. Oh my gosh. I got a couple of good stories to tell you guys. Oh man. I tell you what, so the kids are with their dad, and oh man, I don't know where it is. Somewhere in here I've turned off like browser notifications for YouTube, but you can go back in and turn them on, and that's nice too. But then it would show you the notification regardless of whether or not you're on YouTube. But otherwise, what should happen is you come in here and you'll see it up here and it'll say, so-and-so is live. Anyways. Oh yeah. So the kids are with their dad, but they came back to go to church with us. And so the kids go and leave. And so I come in and I'm writing an article, which I did most of it on Friday night, and it's pretty much done. I'm kind of sitting on it, and I'm going to read it again tonight and see if it's good and then send it off to him. So I did all that, and then it was like, well, I don't know if I really want to sit down and do anything else. A Sunday, I would rather just relax.
Ace Trade says short signal 3080.50 if it hits.
So, we decided to watch a movie. So we watched a movie. I think we watch? We watched Aeon Flux, which is an interesting movie because there's so many good things going for it, but that thing is so stupid and cheesy at the start.
Okay, great. I just subscribed.
There you go. Thank you. And then it was done, and it was like, okay, it's bedtime because I go to bed early, right? No. It's daylight savings time, right? You've gained an hour. You're not supposed to go to bed until an hour later, essentially. So we watched another movie. We watched some globalist brainwashing. It was, what was it? It was, I don't remember the name of it, the movie, but it was a chick flick about a girl that, made by Netflix. A girl that goes to Africa and falls in love with elephants and some guy. And I'm like watching as the beginning of it was interesting. The whole introduction to the elephants and all this sort of stuff was like, okay, this is an interesting movie. And then it just lost the plot. I don't know what the deal was, but then we get to the end and they're like, oh, here's what you can do to save the elephants.
Jonathan Hunt says LMFAO.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So there wasn't actually a real point to the romantic part of this story. This is just globalist propaganda to get us to contribute money to saving the elephants, which I'm sure is a great cause.
Lucas says nice volume at that level, Ace.
And they just put a romance story around it so that women will watch it, because obviously women would be more
Gary
likely
Rich
to
says
contribute
Ace
to
this
something
S
like
range
that.
is tighter than AV. On prom night LOL if you can find one on prom.
Maybe
Ace Trade says it Lucas thanks.
Maybe now because I'm trashing it like that, I should go and donate to the elephants. Because Ace
Trade says there is your two.
It was just so tacked on, right? Then finally we go to bed, right? Oh man. And then I wake up at the same time. So I woke up at 4:30. It's like, it's time to
Gary
go.
Rich
No.
says short triggered long loss.
Alarm's not going to go off for another hour. I hate daylight. Even when you gain the hour, it messes you up, man. I'm telling you, it's not good. And it takes 10 days. It takes 10 days to recover. Right? I'm not a fan of daylight savings time. Anyways, so that was the first thing. Where were we? I was just wanting to make sure.
Uzi Knesset says jet lag without the jet, lol.
Jet lag without the jet. I mean, the funny thing is that technically I'm always kind of jet lagged, right? Because I basically live my life 2 hours offset from everybody else. I basically live on New York time.
Ace Trade says it Gary Rich sorry bro. I'm sure the hedge fund that took your money appreciates it. Some old coal miner will have a better Christmas because of you.
Oh.
Lucas says it Ace Trade's awesome. I'm still wondering how you pick your levels.
It went, didn't it? Listen, here's the thing. He's because we're
Uzi
trying to
says oof.
we're trying to get together so that Ace can tell me in person
Gary Rich
a little
says
bit about
Ace
how he does
going
it.
For points and percent.
And then I wouldn't be able to tell you guys. I think that it's something that's probably don't want to be widespread, but I would at least be able to interpret it better and give you guys notifications
Ace
faster.
Trade says it Lucas well, according to Seth, it's only as good as a coin flip.
I think it's about 50%. I really do. But the thing that makes it so effective is that it's so precise, right? Only 4 ticks, adverse excursion in the E-mini, that's crazy. That's crazy accurate. Even if you're only getting 2 points off of it. And then if you catch a runner, you catch a runner, right? That's amazing. But anyways, so we've been trying to get together, but he's been avoiding.
Where are you currently living? Utah?
Yep, I live in Utah. I'm telling you, he's avoiding. He doesn't want to reveal this. That's what it is. I'm sure it's because, he's got older children than me. And they actually do stuff on Friday, which I typically don't do anything on Friday. We're going to have to get together on a day that's not our Friday. But until then, my story is he's avoiding me so that he doesn't have to tell us.
Lucas says new POC at 19 in ZB.
Well, he is pointed down as it gonna trade 19.5 now.
Ace Trade says you should be on a date with the wife on Friday.
I know, right? But these past few weeks, the whole thing has been that she's been working until 9:30 at night. So that's on Friday.
Ekareo says so you start trading at 6 a.m.
I start trading at 6:20 a.m. Yep, my time, which is actually is really great. Like you wake up early, you start trading, you trade for 2 hours. Before most people are even getting started with the day, you've already accomplished more than most people do in their whole week. And then you go off to the regular job, and the trade-off is just, basically 2 hours less in the evening. But like, honestly, what do you do? You're not productive in the evening anyways. What are you going to do? Watch Netflix? Watch globalist programming? See, it's a great trade-off. I could maybe spend some of that time programming in Sierra charts. I have Sierra charts, but I've hardly done anything with it yet.
Ace Trade says or Ixnay on the OBJ.
Yeah. Or you could just not have a job. Eventually, maybe. I still think that I would always want to have some kind of a job. Scratch. Digital Shot says I somehow like the long side more. Anyways, so like if I didn't have to work my day job, I think that I would spend a considerable amount of time more on the channel. Like I would go back and I would make summary videos of every day, and I would make political
Gary
videos.
Rich says, oh, you guys have jobs also?
I work for a Medicare exchange, essentially, writing monitoring systems. Basically systems to tell us that,
says technically, lol.
The environment is running all correct, right? So that's my day job. If I didn't have a day job, I would probably make political videos. I would probably make summary videos, spend a little bit more time on the YouTube channel, and would hopefully, see a lot of income coming through the YouTube channel to kind of be like stability.
Ace Trade says at Gary Rich, I don't. This is my job. Seth can't get over putting a tie on every day and driving to the man.
But I would need to do something that interacts with people, man. Because I know that my tendency would be to just stay inside. I would become like a total hermit.
Lucas says, do we care about factory orders?
I think we do.
Uzi Knesset says, forget that noise.
No, you gotta talk to people.
Uzi Knesset says I could sit in silence until I die.
Nah. I guess it's daylight
Ace Trade
savings
says
time.
At Lucas,
off.
I'm sure I would if I worked in a factory. Lol.
Okay, now it's showing me the right times. Factory orders. We're expecting a reading of negative spot 5 versus a previous reading of negative spot 1.
With tears of joy.
What do you think would be a good part-time job that interacts with people for a trader? And also, I would want a job that gives me health benefits, because paying your own health benefits suck. And well, I could get health benefits through my wife if she only has to work like 3 more years and she gets
Ace
like
Trade
permanent
says
health
stepping
benefits.
away for a bit.
What could we do? We could sell cars, but I don't know if I want to sell cars, because then I would feel like I'm coercing people into things that they don't need.
Live action says bartender. Lucas says call customer lol. Tons of interaction. Gary Rich says if I lose all the funds, I hear Amazon hiring. Ace Trade says Habitat for Humanity. Reading to children in school. Uzi Knesset says grocery store.
I don't know if I would interact with a lot of people at a grocery store. Some sort of a customer service job, maybe. But then you have the stress of people being unhappy. Oh.
Gary Rich says reading to deaf kids as job growth.
Yeah. But you could do something that's more like within the charity arena, I guess. Bartender would be great if I drank. I don't think I would be a good bartender because I don't know what anything tastes like.
With that?
A server. There you go. And I also have to think about things that would be okay for ADHD, because I don't think I would be a very good server. I would forget what I'm doing and be late with everything.
Lucas says you are interacting with us.
That's true. You know what? And I think that's why I think that
Ace
streaming...
Trade says Sam Malone didn't drink, and he was a great bartender. Uzi
Really?
Knesset says I worked at 711 part-time when I was doing mortgages, wasn't too bad a gig. Talked to hundreds of people a day lol.
Well, there you go. Selling houses maybe would be a better one.
Live Action says most places don't want bartender to drink, it's a liability.
Yeah, but you have to know how to make the drink taste
Dojo
right.
says competition video games?
Competition video games. You know what? I used to be pretty good at the first-person shooters. And when I really get into it, I start to get back into it.
Says, what is your favorite programming language? You don't want to bartender.
No, I mean, I do most of my stuff in C#, but I've been doing a lot of Node lately. No, in video games, you know, I'll get into it, but right now, there's no game that I really feel like I can really get into. Like, I liked Overwatch, and I found that was competitive, but that game is not in a fun state right now, and Blizzard is awful.
Gary
anyways.
Rich says counting toothpicks is cool as a job. Rain Man did it. Ace Trade says, how about just enjoy your day? Work on the yard, clean the house, work out, go do epic stuff?
Well, I do. I'm always going to go work out. That's sure. But anyways, but the other thing on the games is, so there's like all these pro gaming and stuff.
Says carrot.
I believe that competitive gaming market is grossly overvalued. These guys are not making money. You know, the athletes are not making that much money. They make more money from streaming. The leagues, I think, are a drain on money. They're not, and especially not like Overwatch. And I'm not so sure that most of the games have the longevity. Maybe some like maybe Dota, League of Legends is in a state where it can just be like this forever now, and they don't have to change the game much anymore. But most
Wimmer
of these
Kevin
games
says
eventually,
depends on the game, lol. Dota 2 players make huge tons of money.
Yeah. But particularly in the shooter market, I think it's overvalued. Because I thought, hey, you know, it'd be great to like build a mansion and have an esports team live in the mansion with me and stuff.
Knesset says just start a Fortnite or Minecraft channel. Rich in a year, done. Gary Rich says Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now I have to buy PS4 to play. Come on, short daddy, need a new PS4. Dojo says content marketing.
Well, you know what I've been thinking of doing is like, not seriously, but it's just the thought has crossed my mind. I don't think I'm actually going to do it, but I was like, well, it would be nice to stream some games in the evening. Like, play a game.
Live Action says I don't follow video gaming, but saw once a guy making huge dollars for rare video game weapons.
Yeah, you can make okay money, but not a living. Probably not. But I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, though, it's got to be something low stress. And then we could still chat. We could still talk about markets just while we're playing games or something like that, you know? So I was thinking we could do Stardew Valley. That's a relaxing game if you haven't played Stardew Valley. And I could play it with the kid and the wife and we could stream that or something. But I just don't want to. This is like more responsibility. Oh, you have to stream every day now in the evening too? I don't know. But some of these people that are like big streamers, they're streaming like 8 hours a day. Can you believe that? Which I also don't think is sustainable. I think that the streaming space, in the short term, the streaming space is overvalued. I think that Microsoft is paying these streamers too much money to stream on their platform. Because I don't think that there's that much longevity in watching a guy play Apex Legends. I know that there's like, they have good numbers of people doing it, but in the long run, I don't think that that's going to stick. I think that what's going to happen is there's going to be a little bit of a collapse in streaming, and then there's going to be a renaissance, and the renaissance is going to be non-video game streaming. Streams like this, and probably primarily it'll be some platform where there's a lot of politics, I would think. And that's, I think, going to be the next revolution. And then streaming will grow and be so large, it'll be larger than almost any other kind of media, and it'll be a big deal. But in the short term, I think that they're overbought. So, there was another suggestion.
Jojo says one girl on Twitch streams gaming and pole dancing.
Right. That's like some of the things that people stream are just, the thing that I'm a little jealous of you guys. When I've told you guys this before, but like
Uzi Knesset says Twitch's thoughts central lol.
Yeah. There's definitely some nice, it's nice to be the streamer and to, I don't know, be the center of attention, I guess, and to have so many people that enjoy watching and that you get to have a personal relationship with. But when I'm not streaming, I feel like, I wish there was somebody that I could tune into and just listen to them and interact with and let somebody else have the spotlight. You know what I mean? I think that that's nice too.
Lucas says I pass.
And so I'll get on Twitch.
Uzi Knesset says they're Stebois throwing their McWages at softcore porn lol.
Yeah, right. So I'll go on Twitch and I'll start going through the channels, and I'm not really that interested in the gaming that's going on.
Gary Rich says I watch the women who play on Twitch. Again, I'm single with a dog.
Well, there are some people that are good entertainers, but they're not the entertainment that I'm interested in. So, for example, I went on and I was like, okay, so what's in just chatting? Well, it's mostly girls, so let's pick a girl. So we pick a girl. And the discussion that they have is the most vapid, retarded stuff. I mean, listen, it's like we're talking about what job would you do if you didn't have to work a day job and it was just for fun and it was just to interact with people. Okay. That's not, but it's still like a mental exercise about, solving a problem or something like that. But these girls, they don't talk about anything. They're talking about whether peanut butter has a dry taste or not. I don't know. And it's okay to get into a subject like that every once in a while, and certainly we do too. But when that's like all your stream is,
Uzi Knesset says ha 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 ha.
Obviously, the conversation is not the focal point of the stream, is it? Right?
Dojo says, have you checked out that show Rising on the Hill?
Haven't seen that.
Gary Rich says, oh, I'm not watching for the gaming LOL. Some are just out there.
Yep. Well, I was going for just chatting because I want somebody that's having like intellectual conversations of some sort,
Uzi Knesset says they can't get naked, so they talk about dopey shit to keep the eyes glued at their cleavage lol.
Probably. So and I try going through the guys, and the guys just aren't talking about anything interesting. There is a guy that does another guy that does day trading that gets a decent number of viewers on Twitch. I think he's fairly interesting. And there's another guy. One guy that I actually quite enjoy is what is his name? Devin Nash. And his stream is basically all about marketing and making your stream and your YouTube more popular and stuff. But like he really seems to understand the industry really well. And so they talk about the business side of things, and it's really smart. And he's also hilarious. So I enjoy watching him, but he's not on when I'm in the evening. He's on when I'm at work when I can't watch.
Uzi Knesset says thoughts on Twitch are just too lazy to do actual porn lol.
I bet you they probably make more than... I mean, listen, if you can just sit there all day in your regular clothes and just do your makeup a little bit nicer and just yap for 8 hours and make money, wouldn't you rather do that than getting railed for, hours on end for a video and then have it, the adverse impact on the rest of your life? Because really it's like...
Uzi Knesset says, oh, I bet they make more money, lol. I don't blame him, but I'ma still call a spade lol. So
there's this lady, what is her name? Her porn name was Asia Carrera, I believe. And there was an article about her in the newspaper because she lives in Utah. And basically when she got out of the industry, and I think that she kind of regrets being in the industry, but like she changed her name and everything and kind of lives like a recluse because she doesn't want to be recognized for her work in the industry.
Gary Rich says at Uzi, you don't want to know what I watch on my free time. Yikes.
So you wouldn't want to do that, right? So if you could get around that and instead be a family friendly somewhat family-friendly personality that is liked mostly because they're good looking, why wouldn't you do that instead? You know? Now, it's interesting, if you look at Mixer, the streamers they have been trying to snatch have been family-friendly. I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'm terribly family-friendly, so even if I was a popular, I don't think that they would be giving me offers. That's a pretty good amount of volume trying to buy into 21.5, but clearly more people going short again.
Uzi Knesset says at Gary Rich, as long as you ain't one of them NEETs that toss their savings account at something you can see just by going outside, you good lol.
That toss their savings account at something that you can just see by going outside? Ugh. I'm sure you're talking about like guys that go to strip joints or pay for escorts, but that makes me think about this Wall Street Bets guy. Have you guys seen that? Do you know what I'm talking about? They're gonna hold 21.5?
Gary Rich says Asa isn't ashamed of her past, she just real about it.
Oh, that's right, yes. She's done normal videos.
Uzi Knesset
right?
says no, I am talking about dummies who hurl thousands of dollars at Twitch thoughts. That shit's just dumb.
Well, you know how they do it though, is you get an Amazon Prime subscription, and then that allows you to subscribe to people. And I guess you can then get gifted subscriptions and all this stuff. It's weird stuff. But you know what? I think that a lot of people say, you know what, I like this form of entertainment and I want to keep it going, so I'm going to pay money for it. As long as you're not paying thousands of dollars. But man, some of those girls do make a ton of money. Like that whole thing with the girl that sold her bathwater, man. I sold bathwater. We've been through this before, haven't we? Now, if I sold bathwater, it would be the best effing bathwater. Crystal vials. Nice additives for you.
Uzi Knesset says Yo Belle Delphine was an epic troll.
Right. Well, the funny thing is that not all of these girls are dumb, you know.
Gary Rich says no on escorts. Strip clubs, spent years in them. Been there, done that. Glad I did in my youth days.
Yeah. But no, did you guys see this guy on Wall Street Bets? There's this kid, and he did the tricking Robin Hood to allowing him to trade more than his account should be allowed to. So basically, he was like buying a stock and then selling a stock and then puts against it and then doing that over and over again. So he had this extremely leveraged position that on a $2,000 account, and he videoed himself. And it's the dumbest video because it's on his phone and he's watching it on his phone and he doesn't do anything. He just kind of stares at the screen dumbfounded. And people were saying, you know, that's weird. Like, who would do that? Why would you be so dumb?
Gary Rich says, Seth, I can market your bathwater. Everyone wants to buy something. LOL.
Right. I think maybe someday we can. When we'll have crystal vials, okay? Anyways, when you are like tilted, it's hard to speak. And I think the fact that he's like quiet from the beginning of the video, I think just means that he was already tilted. Like apparently he was already down and he was doing this trade to try and make up for a previous bad trade. So now, and I think that he just declares bankruptcy and loses $2,000. But some people were saying like he's in his car. I have the feeling that he lives in that. I was just like, oh man. But then all the guys on that subreddit were like making memes about him and stuff. I'm like, guys, don't praise people for wasting money. Man. Listen, if you want to blow $2,000, just give it to me. You can come in here. You can do, YouTube lets you make donations as big as we got. We got some donations on Friday. I really appreciate Anthony.
Wimmer Kevin says, professional trader bathwater. Increase your trading profitability by drinking 2 tablespoons a day.
2 tablespoons a day. I think so. I would have to take baths, though. I don't normally take baths. I don't know. It could work. You know what the other thing, though, is that my... I don't have a good body odor. There's something about my intestinal imbalance causes my sweat to smell like onions. It's really weird. So even though I shower like twice a day and use like super strong deodorant,
Wimmer Kevin says take a shower and sell it as bath water. Those idiots will never know. Lol.
There you go. Well, we could just say that it's bath water, but actually have it be really pure, well-filtered water or something, you know? There's this guy I know here in the city that he sells water purification systems, and they are amazing water purification systems. I wish I knew the website off the top of my head. I would give it to you, but with this water filtration system, you can actually
Gary
control the pH of your water.
Call it French.
Gross, dude. No. You know what? I think that I can provide better value to people than bathwater, even though there's a market for it. I'm just thinking, how can I better provide value to people? One of the things I think I could do to provide better value to people is to chop up the videos so that you can see the gist of what we talked about with the main trades and the ideas behind them in 5 minutes instead of having to watch the whole thing. I think that would provide value to people and would probably bring more people into trade. There's things like that. I think we could do consulting. Now, that's another thing about, like, if I didn't have a day job. I think if I didn't have a day job, I would probably make myself available for consulting. And, you know, you would come in and you would tell me how your strategy worked and what problems you seem to have. Maybe you record yourself so I can watch you as you're trading and stuff. And so I could put a bit of time into...
says consult me, daddy.
Yeah. Put a bit of time into, like, analyzing your plan and help people that are new get started faster without having to waste tons on education. But, you know, you could just... I don't know what my fee would have to be, but I wouldn't make it a ridiculous amount. You know, give you an hour.
Says, why do you want PPL to begin a career in trading?
Well, that's a good question, Lucas. I think that the markets function better when there's more people involved, one. And two, I think that for the people that actually enjoy and do well at trading, I think that if they get involved, trading changes you. And I say it changes you for the better, for the most part. It can make you a little cynical, but I think for the most part, it makes you a better person. It helps the markets, and you have the opportunity to make some money. And if I can help more people find that and get into trading in a sophisticated manner, instead of, you know, the charts and the hope that most people are using to day trade, I think that that's providing significant value to people and to the world. And I feel like that's the thing that I know and that I'm good at. And so that's the thing that I should put my effort into. You know, I'm not a climate science. I don't know anything about global warming. I can't even really tell you for sure if it's actually happening or not, or what would be the good solution to it, other than that it sounds like a profit-making opportunity, a good investing opportunity. And that's because my thing is markets, you know, and so that's why I would do that, you know. And even if they don't start, even if you don't scalp, because here's the thing is, like, I think the real advantage to this style of trading is what it does to your understanding of the market, you know?
Gary Rich says, I personally believe the markets will pay you for the rest of your life. Work more, make more.
Maybe, I hope so. When you look at a chart does a good job of telling you what happened. You might
Lucas says, I feel like probably most PPL should just get a degree in a high-paying field and make a career out of it. Better odds than making it as a trader.
Totally, sure. And I would say start with a career first and have trading be a side thing at first, unless you somehow are able to get signed up onto a big bank. Right? But no, when you look at a chart, you can see what happened. You might be able to get an idea when you correlate it with news to see why it happened. But you can't actually see how it happened. There's no way to completely see how it happened other than looking at the DOM. Because even if you're looking at a footprint chart, you can't necessarily see that, oh, it ticked up and then it sat there for 3 seconds and then somebody bought it and it moved, or, you know, how things went. That's really hard to see. Only through looking at the DOM could we know.
I think trading works best when you have a core position investment and you trade around it.
Sure. Only from watching the DOM would you know immediately that move down was some sort of large trade, large number of orders going through all at once, you know, and what happened and how much volume. Seeing it on the DOM is important, and it informs your opinion of the market. And when you take that information and that knowledge and you take it to...
Wimmer Kevin says, well, you can have footprint chart with price ladder. That's what I use. Don't like the DOM view.
Yeah, there's still some things that's really hard to see, especially with the level 2. There's some things that you can just only see with it being live. You know, like things like the level 2 is changing a lot and then it pauses for a second and then it goes through. It's like the trying to read the emotion of the people on the other side of the screen through their timing and stuff. It's that I think you can only get through the DOM. But certainly you're better off if you're looking at a footprint chart than nothing, right? But you take that information and then you take it to swing trading around a position or just investing in general. I think that you are better equipped. You know, I think that you guys watching this action every day have a really, really good idea of what the market reacts to, what are the things, the pieces of news that affect the market. And you can go out there and you could pick a couple of stocks based on what you see in the market right now and do really well. You know, I don't know if you would necessarily beat the index, but you have a good chance of doing it, I think. I think that's the true value. The thing that bothers me is there's so many people out there involved in the markets that they don't even know a tenth of what's actually going on because they only see a stock chart. You know? It's like they don't even know that there are places you can trade where you can see all of the limit orders as they change around. That's powerful stuff. They don't even know about it.
Wimmer Kevin says send you a private message because can't post picture in channel. That is almost like a DOM.
Sure. Oh, here, did you, yeah, it's pretty close. Especially, you're doing it every minute. Yeah. I mean, the shorter of a time frame you got.
says I feel order flow and footprints can assist any type of trading.
Yeah. Well, the thing that you can't see on the footprint is you can't see the level 2, unfortunately. I have yet to see a method of aggregating
Wimmer
the level
Kevin
2
says that is
really,
CL
really
1 minute chart.
Yeah, that really shows you everything other than the DOM. I don't think it's possible. Well, I take that back. There could be Vista charts, I suppose. There could be ways of aggregating this Vista chart of creating a new bar at certain intervals that could maybe do it, but the level 2, it matters. But can you believe that there are people out there that trade without volume, even like Forex? Like, holy cow, what are you guys thinking? They have
Wimmer
no clue.
Kevin says, what do you mean with level 2? Do you mean how many orders there are? It is on the right.
Oh, sure. Okay, sure. If you're watching that. No. Yeah. No, it's on the far right. I see. Yeah. You'd have to be able to watch. You'd have to be able to watch that. But that is...
Gary Rich says Market Delta has it.
Yeah.
Live Action says I had a senior broker partner who offered footprint charts say to me he has not seen footprint charts having any advantage.
No. Well, I think that you have to have the level 2 with it. For sure. I've just, I started this out in saying, volume is king, like, because level 2 can show up and disappear, and it can be hard to make conclusions based off of that. You know what? That's true. That's true. But I discounted the power of level 2. I think something that is really important is not just the orders that went through, but the orders that wanted to go through and weren't able to get what they wanted. And you can only tell that from watching the level 2. So I think that you kind of have to have those things together.
Wimmer Kevin says, yeah, I watch this to see how the markets reacts to big orders, if the big orders are real, if someone keeps refreshing. I just prefer this view compared to your DOM view, sometimes to chaotic.
Yeah, that might be. It's a little bit more, the way that your footprint chart shows it is a little bit more visual. And mine is kind of numbers. And I think, but sometimes I think when we're new, we read too much into the numbers themselves, I think it's more to do with, like, I watch here and I'm kind of have my peripheral vision be able to see here, and I'm mostly kind of just watching for movement, just that the number changed. And then when I see a movement that's like significant, like you can see it sometimes, it'll tick up and it's like here's the stock and it's moving out and it goes doing. Like you can just tell based on how it moves, even though you don't see the number, but you can see because it goes there and it stays and it doesn't change after that, that it's like somebody stacked something there. And then everything pauses for a second and then everybody shuffles around because of that thing. That's the kind of the sort of stuff that I use to kind of inform my feel. And that's how I was able to say, before we moved down, the trade that I took, I said, well, we pushed a new low, we came back up, and there's just no activity. So I took it. It worked out, although it wasn't the bestest price, but it still worked. But anyways, to the main point, I think more people should know about this. How can you day trade
Gary
without this
Rich
information?
Says level 2 for me is just to see flow went through, that's all. I examine level 2 differently.
Sure. And there's lots of different ways to read it. The primary thing that I'm looking for is the overall activity level. Because I'm trying to find spots where people are trapped. And seeing that a lot of people had put orders in at a particular location is a really good way to tell if they are trapped.
Stickball says day trade without what information? I am a bit late to the stream.
Oh, hey, Stick. We're talking about, how do you day trade without order flow, without level 2 and volume at price and these sorts of things. I don't understand. I just don't think that if you're just trading off of a chart, or like another thing is like, what is it? Level 2 to the NASDAQ is not the same thing as the level 2 to the CME, right? Because the level 2 to the NASDAQ, they will tell you like, what is on the bid and the offer on the inside. But I don't think that they necessarily show you every price. I think you can get that from some brokers, can't you? But it's not really the same thing. And you don't really see a lot of retail traders doing it, especially not on YouTube. I really am. I mean, maybe there's somebody else out there and I just haven't run across them yet. But as far as I know, I'm the only trader. Well, I'm the only one live streaming it, but then I'm the only one doing it on order flow. Almost everybody else is doing charts. And some of these guys are really, really popular with just specializing in Elliott wave analysis, for instance. And that's kind of where
says I think level 2 for SPY is helpful for trading S.
I bet. But I just watch all this stuff and I'm like, how are they because I feel like the game, maybe this is just my own, we humans have that propensity to think higher of ourselves than we are. Like, we're always looking for that reason to think that we're better than other people. But I really feel that the game that we play on the CME.
Gary Rich says that type of data is very expensive for retail.
Yeah. I think that the game that we play on the CME is light years ahead of the game that most retail players are playing in stocks.
Stickbell says yes, exactly. I despise people who say, just keep it simple, man, in regards to trading.
Well, so this is an interesting thing. But you bring up an interesting thought to me, Stickball.
Stickball says the more information you can get, the better.
Yeah. The thing is I've been writing these articles about level 2. And it's curious to me as I go through and I kind of try and, provide a framework for people to learn how to do this stuff, how it's really simple and yet it's really complicated. It's the interplay of a few really simple dynamics that lead to a lot of complexity. For instance, with the level 2, if you're just looking at the inside bid and offer, one of the things that you're always going to notice almost right away is that usually one side is bigger than the other side. They're fairly equal right now, like in the 10-year, 14 versus 12. Okay, but here we have 19 bid and it was only like 500 offer for a moment, okay? There's almost twice as many bid as there are offer, right? And it's more likely if price is going to tick, only 1,000 have to come in to make it tick up, and 2,000 have to come in to make it tick down. That's really simple, isn't it? That's really simple. Another thing is that what an iceberg is. Well, it's an order that they're not showing all of it. And when that gets filled, then they show more of the order. Okay? So what you see there on the liquidity isn't necessarily real.
Just people advertising liquidity.
Isn't necessarily always real. There could be more or less because people can cancel their orders too. Okay? But all of that is like a really simple system. But then when you combine it together, you get this complicated metagame where they will show you a ton there and then pull it. And sometimes that means this thing, and sometimes that means this thing. And a lot of it just has to do of what has happened previously, and therefore what are humans more likely to want to try and do because of that, because of our inherent biases. And now you can go in and you can go through almost every situation and say, like, what happened there? And try and analyze it. And every situation can be different. So it's like the interplay of just a few small forces can lead to an infinite amount of complexity.
2003 level 2 was all we had. Today order flow is light years better. Back then order flow was very, very expensive.
Yeah. Back in 2003, huh? Well, back in 2003, you did have a DOM, right? That's the thing. Like, now we have all of these nifty ways of analyzing it in different ways, but as long as you still have the DOM, you should be okay. Okay, so they took 21.5 bid, but we're kind of in a chop zone, so.
Stickball says market makers are most advanced with order flow, I think.
I think so too. Like, one of the things that I find funny, for instance, is that a lot of the retail guys that I've found out there that are trading stocks that appear to do well are almost entirely find a big mover and buy in on the momentum, which is great. But like, how much of the market are you missing out on?
But not like today.
How do you interpret action like this? They would have no clue. They wouldn't be able to make. They would just say, "Well, this is boring. Let's go find a different instrument that's moving." Right. Here on the treasuries, you have to understand, when you trade one instrument like treasuries, it's like you have to understand everything. You have to understand trending action, you have to understand slow action, you have to understand why it's trending or it's slow. You have to understand everything about the economy. You have to understand things about the stock market because you have to understand things about currencies because it all factors in. That's why it's the best teacher. You go and you trade this and then you go around and you trade something else. You're going to be equipped. You're going to be better equipped.
Stickball says, so why aren't you rich yet?
Well, because the reward for it can often be not
Dojo
all that
says
much.
TOS includes level 2, DOM, and time and sales at no extra cost. I think a lot of people just have TOS accounts for that.
I mean, that's the crazy thing is like, it's, you understand the market better, but it's a harder game to play too. It's a much harder game to play. But you know what? I've been doing okay. We did okay last week. And we got a good trade today, even though that one was sim.
Gary Rich says chance favors the prepared mind.
There you go. I guess that's what I'm getting at. I guess the thing is with futures is that you're going to have a drive beyond just making money, right? Because, especially initially, the reward that you get for the amount of effort that you put in is not a very good return. It takes several years to even become like profitable. It's hard. It's a hard game to play. It's like putting somebody in StarCraft and saying, okay, I don't know if any of you guys play StarCraft, but you can't just go in and say, okay, here's all the units and what they do, and then expect them to be able to compete at the top levels of the ladder in StarCraft. It's just not. It's going to take a long time playing that game.
Says I used to lol.
That was a great game. Maybe if I had more time, I would play StarCraft. When I was, before I started working for Goldman Sachs, I was working for a book publishing company. And that company got bought out by somebody, and they didn't need me anymore. And they already knew that I was going to be working for Goldman Sachs. So they just got rid of me. And my job at Goldman Sachs didn't start for like 3 months or something. And this was like at the height of the crisis.
Uzi Knesset says back in the day on Battle.net and SC1 I started playing in Korean servers. Got mad good lol.
Yeah, this was like the beginning part of 2010. So the economy was still pretty shitty. And there was actually a lot of people that wanted to hire me, but not for like, only 3 months or whatever. So, I had some things going on that allowed me to be able to just
says you work for Goldman Sachs now?
Not now, but I worked for them for 6 years. So this was 2010, and I worked for them until 2016. And then the past 3 years, I've worked for a health insurance company, like an online exchange. Anyways, so for those 3 months, I would go to everything that I could to try and get a job, and I was working hard and everything, but never really happened. And so I had some extra free time. So what did I do? I played StarCraft 2 beta, and that was great. I loved doing that. And that game was a lot easier to understand than Brood War.
I'm old school gamer Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Frogger, many quarters spent. Live Action says, Seth, you ever watch Anton Creel from GSYT videos?
Yes, I have, actually. I'm trying to remember what we were saying about those videos, because it's kind of interesting because he says a lot of stuff that is certainly true, but then it seems to me like he's mostly a self-serving, self-promoter sort of guy, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like he was acting like, oh, you follow me and then you'll become rich. And that's no, it doesn't work like that. And I wish I could say to people, I mean, that's the difficult thing is that part of being, becoming popular, I guess, if we were going to say we want to push the YouTube channel.
Dojo says Anton Creel has morphed from trading coach to investing coach.
Well, that's interesting. But, it's you got to do the hype. You got to say, hey, guys, you can make money too. And here's how you can do it with only one simple payment of blah, 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 blah. No. But I know that the truth is very different. The truth is that this is the hardest thing that you're ever going to do. That even if you work really hard and you stick it out for a long period of time,
Gary
of which
Rich
70% of you do not. 70% of people do not last more than a year, and it's probably going to take you 3 years to really figure it out. And even then, there's probably a 50% chance that you're not going to be successful. And if you are successful, there's a good chance that the amount of success that you're going to have is somewhat mild.
Institute now.
And is that something that generates clicks? The truth? No, it's not.
Live Action says I did catch last year's webinar, and in the end they gave their calls for the coming year and was spot on in a huge way on all.
Oh, really? Well, it does seem to me like he's somebody that knows what he's doing. But, that's a lot of marketing, so.
Stickball says some trading days there's many amazing setups and you make easy money, and other days it's like the market is 100% efficient. Gary Rich says I'm not hating on them.
Yeah. I just remember, it's been a long time, and I don't really care to go back and watch the videos, but I remember when I watched his videos, there was one thing that I took issue with, but I don't remember what it was. But I liked that he was kind of telling people that, hey, what you're getting through most of the retail industry is bullcrap. Because that's what I think. I think that there's all these, it just frustrates. The reason why I say this stuff is because I go to the day trading subreddit. And if I post a video on the day trading subreddit, it does not, people downvote it. Any kind of video, in fact, any article that has a real information gets downvoted. Not even joking. And I think part of it is because those guys don't want to hear, oh, you should trade futures, because they think that it should be in stocks. And because they never venture outside of it, they don't realize how skewed the game is day trading in stocks, And they don't realize the amount of information that's available that they can't see. And it's really a racket when you look at it from that perspective. And it's like the internet doesn't want you to know. For whatever reason. That's the way it is. And I guess it's good for us in a way, but I think that it would be better if there were more people involved in the markets. I mean, just me. I need to post my Bitcoin charts here, guys.
Gary Rich says if I were a trading coach, I'd make them cry, toughen up and suck it up, buttercup. It sucks and you will lose. If you don't cry, welcome.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to be able to take people and say, okay, because I've tried a lot of different strategies, and because of we've been streaming through most of this, I'm exposed to a lot more.
Dojo says I've talked to loads of people who are long S&P in their 401ks to the tune of hundreds of thousands, but they won't even think of trading futures.
They did this study the other day that said that only 5% of the population really even knew what fixed income investing was.
Stickball says Bookmap with DX feed apparently is great for stocks since no one looks at anything close to Bookmap in spot stock markets.
Right. I don't know, but I would like to. I'm exposed to a lot of information and different strategies because of you guys, and I would really like to be able to go in one-on-one with people when they're struggling and saying, okay, well, what are you actually trying to trade, and what are some things that we can do to help you trade it better? Or what are the pitfalls of this, or things that I know you're doing wrong?
Paul Tudor Jones billionaire started with 10K trading cotton. Ray Dalio started broke trading grains. Now number 54 richest man in the world. Futures offers hope.
Totally. You can totally get big with futures, right? I don't want to give anybody false promises because the chances are that. The market is not very efficient, but it is somewhat efficient, and there's you have to keep your expectations within reason. Here today, I really don't think that you're going to catch a 16 tick runner you know? It doesn't really make sense to do that. And so you just have to take what you're given. And then if you happen to get lucky, then great. And so you can be lucky, but I think that too many people expect to have that level of success and they hurt themselves trying to achieve it. You know?
Dojo says when Tudor Jones made his mint the markets were still voice. There is a great video of him on YouTube doing something slightly nefarious. Swissio says stock trading is easier for day traders and investors than futures trading.
Well,
Gary Rich says that's how I was trained. Harsh realities and punished harshly with words of criticism. I enjoy the pain, it just makes me tougher.
it's definitely a harder game to play. Yeah, I think Swisso. Well, maybe you were around when we were talking about that, but there's no question that trading 10-year Treasury futures with order flow is the most difficult way to trade. No question about it. No question about it. But in some respects, because it is the most open and
Live Action says he tried to stop that video, but it got away from him on the wide internet.
Video of him on YouTube doing something slightly nefarious. Huh. Well, anyways, I mean, it's maybe the most difficult game, but there's still reasons to get into it. Because I don't think that you can sit down and you can say it's going to be way easier for you to make money in the ES than it is in the 10-year. I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Because yeah, the game that you're playing is easier, but the game that you're playing is also more tilted against you. You know? It's like your ceiling in futures is higher. I guess is the difference.
Luis Alarid says old adage on the street, if you can't trade, trade corn.
Why did they say that? Is corn an easier trade? Should I be trading corn? I could try trading corn. I don't know. I like treasuries. You know what? There's something, and maybe it's just to my ego, but I think that there's something about the sophistication that I really enjoy. You know, with treasuries, you really gotta understand the whole thing, and I like that.
Live Action says true. Dojo says the markets are all correlated for the most part. If you can make money in ZB, you should be able to make money in S. You just have to adjust your size. Gary Rich says anything new initially is difficult, but over time it does get better and you become better. Stickball says almost everyone in futures is looking at order flow, so I guess the edge you have to have is being faster.
You know what, Stickball? I thought that was the case, but from what I've seen so far, it's actually not true. Can you believe that? Even within
Ace Trade
futures,
says I disagree. Live Action says helpful being able to trade S because it often leads grains.
Yeah. No, the vast majority of even futures traders are still just using charts. For some reason, they don't want to look at the DOM. There's more people looking at the DOM.
Live Action says bonds. Stickball says ahaha, why is that?
It may be the case that the majority of traders trading the 10-year are looking at the DOM. But if you look at I think that there was a poll, in fact, somewhere. The majority of futures traders are not using order flow. They're using charts. So there's that, for starters. But then the second thing is that the edge, is being faster. If everybody was using the exact same edge, then yeah, it would be being faster. But that's not really the case. You're going to find
Ace Trade says at
different
STIK Val
situations.
because I don't know that many traders, but none of them use order flow.
That's the first thing, but then the second thing is and here's a big key that I think you have to understand. If you're a new person and you're learning order flow, there is a metagame. There is a metagame, and you will see something like you'll see as like say a large bid pops up at 19.5 out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden 19.5 shows 3,000 orders on it. How do you react to that? Does that mean that they're ready to pump it up and you should buy into it? Or does that mean that it's going to pull and you're going to sell into it and that they're going to have another push down? How do you know which one it's going to be? Well, there's a metagame to it. And if they had done it like 3,000 earlier in the day and it worked, they may try and show that same thing in a different place and intentionally make it fail because everybody will remember when it worked last time and try and run it again. And so there's kind of this metagame. And if you understand the metagame, it can go a long way towards determining which areas you really want to interact with and which ones not. Because then you can sit down and you can say, well, because of the location of this particular signal, it could go either way versus, okay, here was a particular signal. It kind of happened in the middle of nowhere. So that kind of suggests to me that somebody was really trying to push the market up, but then they were unsuccessful. And that's failing, and so I can take it because I know that something failed there. That's kind of the way that I would recommend trying to play them in treasuries. So, because of the metagame, there's going to be a lot of people out there that completely understand what's going on in the order flow, but still make the wrong decision because they don't understand the meta. Make sense? That's my take on it. The meta is something that is still in its early stages, and I'm really trying to develop something that I can try and give you guys about it. But I think that that's going to take years of research. But maybe someday I will be able to write a book called The Metagame of Commodities and Index Futures. Anyways, but then I think that the other thing that's even bigger is that the markets are just so big and there's so many situations. And I mean, there's opportunities every second. There's always going to be a place for you to be able to get in and make money. Always. All right. Well, guys, I've yapped plenty and conversation kind of died down. So I think we can probably reach the end of this. I'm sure that we'll have more thoughts about this tomorrow, but I thought we had fun. I'm super stoked that we had almost had 30 viewers today. So bravo. Channel's growing. We've been trading well. Caught one good trade, even though it was a day that I thought would be awful. But then it was pretty awful after that, and so I'm glad that I stayed out. So if you haven't already, click that like button. I appreciate it a lot. It really helps the channel out. Subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you can find the channel when we go live more easily. I just posted my Bitcoin charts, so if you are a subscriber to the Patreon, you can go over there and read today's cryptocurrency notes and charts. And oh yeah, we don't really need this. I will have an article out on Thursday though. So there's that. And I think that is everything.
Gary Rich says I came from FX which 4 trill flowed per day. Quick fast speed, futures, indices, stocks, ETFs, etc. much slower.
Oh, you know why the
Ace Trade says at Lucas, you still on? Want me to give you a signal?
You know what happened was
Stickball says then make a trade. Dojo says everything you need to know can be learned from the last scene of Trading Places, haha.
Well, now that's
Stickball
weird.
says yeah, if you were to wait for other people to throw themselves into that
We'll
wall,
just
then
let
you
it
can
go.
see what happens. Stickball says CYA.
So what happened was we ran out of requests, and then for some reason one request did go through, and it just pulled all of the messages and started reading them. But I didn't realize that it went. I should have it make a message so that when there are no more, it will tell me, and I can close it. So Gary Rich says I came from FX, which 4 trillion flowed through today, quick, fast speed. ETF's much slower. Yep. Everything you need to know can be learned from the last scene of Trading Places. I gotcha. The live action and a new subscriber. Hey, thank you, live action, for subscribing. You've been a dedicated listener for a long time though, and I really do appreciate it. And you've given a lot of good contributions. So, Wavy Bones asks, "Do you trade options?" Not at this time. I think that if you have a retail portfolio, that using options to hedge yourself can be a really great way to do things. But what we're doing is really going for maximum consistency and understanding of the markets. And so I just trade the futures. And Ace says still nursing the short. Well, this thing is sure going sideways, isn't it? I think that maybe eventually the E-mini might peter out here, but it might take a few days. I don't know. The Treasuries sure are chopping around, aren't they? Honestly, that short that we caught, even though it was a good signal and everything, we're really lucky that we caught what we did. So, anyways, I really should go now. It's 8:50, so 10 minutes for me to get out the door. I will see you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, stay profitable.